last night I went to a dinner celebrating women in tech, and at the end of the dinner somebody stood up and raised a glass and said, "May we all be the women that we all needed when we were young." So, and I thought that that was really nice, and I think that we can all think back to those mentors, those people that mentored us and coached us and empowered us. So I'm thrilled to introduce some of those women today. We'll do a brief introduction here. So Alysia Reiner, actress, activist, and producer, well known for her role as Natalie Figueroa, the Toughest Nails assistant warden. Everyone loves to hate on Orange is the New Black. She produced and starred in Equity, the first ever female-driven Wall Street film, which premiered at Sundance and garnished her many awards. And she's a passionate change maker for women. She's deeply committed to protecting the environment as well. And we have Sophia Bush, who's an actress, activist, entrepreneur, and global education access advocate. She's well known for her fan-favorite role as Brooke Davis on the hit show One Tree Hill, and currently stars as Detective Erin Lindsay on NBC's Chicago PD. Sophia also serves as global ambassador for Glamour's The Girl Project, which works to break down the barriers girls face in getting a secondary school education. So Alysia and Sophia, thank you and welcome.
Thank you.
You are both fiercely passionate about empowering women, enabling women to tell their stories and to kind of forge their own path moving forward. So let's talk about what it means to be a feminist storyteller and how we can kind of incite change through those tactics.
Well, it's funny that you talked about mentorship, because that is such a huge piece of it. And for me, my favorite mentor story is I went to New York Women in Film and Television when I was like in my 20s, and I said, I really need a mentor. And they're like, great, send us your resume. And I sent them my resume, and they're like, could you be a mentor? And I, of course, said yes, but I still have never had a mentor. And I'm so deeply dedicated to being a mentor to women. And just today was like emailing with this young woman who made a little short and saying yes, even when I feel like I don't have any time, but just doing whatever I can, because that is the only way. And I would say feminism is such a hard word for so many people. And embracing it and making it your own is a really big piece of it. For me, there's two pieces of what does it mean to be a feminist storyteller. One is really looking at the stereotypes and really looking at our unconscious bias. And first, I always love, like my mother taught me, when you have one finger pointing forward, you have four fingers pointing back, and looking at yourself first and what are your biases, and really looking deep, and being willing to be open to change in that way. As I went on this journey making Equity, I saw my own biases about Wall Street, my own biases about people with money, about Republicans, and I had to look at what those biases were and letting them go. The other piece for me is I love when we were at Sundance, Effie Brown talked about the 3 things you can do for women: hire, invest, and mentor. And I think those are across any career. And what does that mean? Hire more women. We talk in our business about lists, and especially with directors, you'll get a list and producers will be really proud. Oh, I asked for half women. There's half women on this list, but a lot of the women haven't had the opportunities that the men have. So they end up choosing the man anyway, because it's a safer bet. And sometimes you have to take that risk for that more talented woman who hasn't had the chance.
And it's so interesting how there's a pat on the back from your male producer who says there's 50% women on this list. See, I did it. I included women, and I'm like, right, but did you write a check to a woman?
Right.
Did you give a woman the helm of your film?
Right.
Are you actually investing in these women? Because anybody can make a list. Anybody can come sit on a stage like this, and this happened here, and say, I'm an advocate for women in tech, and then literally speak over the woman who's interviewing them. And I'm like, do you even understand that you're such a hypocrite in this moment where is the actual practice of the equality?
Right.
And I'm so excited to have the conversation. I mean, with you, we've known each other a long time, and I'm such a fan of yours. But there's a part of me, I have to be honest, that is so pissed that we have to talk about what it means to be a feminist storyteller.
Correct.
Or we have to talk about what it's like to be like, hey, you're a woman in the DGA. I'm like, yeah, I'm a director. Why we have to still sort of highlight the fact that we're having these conversations, that feminism isn't a dirty word, that it literally just means equality. I'm like, I'm an equal opportunity storyteller, actually. And for the men who interrupt women while calling themselves advocates for women, I say, you don't even know that your behavior is the reason we're still having this conversation. Because when you stop interrupting women, when you start writing checks to women, when you invest in women, when it's as easy for a woman to get a job as a man, then I get to just be a director. You get to just be a producer. You don't have to be a feminist producer, girl.
Yeah.
You know?
You know, on Equity, we hired a female writer, a female director, a female costume designer, a female production designer, and I'm doing that with my next movie, and I'm doing it, and it's harder sometimes, and I so look forward to that time where I don't have to do it so purposefully. I'm just doing it, and that's, you know, it's the biggest piece of it, is you just have to take the risk, and you have to look at your own behavior.
And you have to start looking at what responsibility looks like. We were discussing something backstage about the fact that, you know, we're all here because we're either bridging gaps between, you know, entertainment and tech, or for a lot of us, myself included, I've been investing in tech companies for 8 years. I'm a dork about it. I recently took friends to a coffee class, and the roasters were showing me their program. They have an actual, like, incredibly detailed program that the entire time any batch of coffee is being roasted, it has output graphs of temperature and pressure and humidity and all these things. And I was there, like, you know, reading this graph, and everybody was like, you're such a data dork. Like, what's wrong with you? And
Nothing.
It's the world, nothing, exactly. It's the world that I love, but we're sitting here still having to talk about how we're bridging these gaps and making these efforts. And won't it be nice when you don't have to make the effort? Because I know there's people out there thinking, well, you're hiring women just to hire women. It's like, no, I'm hiring qualified women, but I'm doing it because we have to start changing the data. We have to start changing the statistics. That's how the graphs change. That's how empowerment changes. That's how we can sit and have panels without being interrupted or spoken over. You know, on the stage next door, there was also a panel.
I was so glad that we were all women. I knew that we'd actually listen to each other.
Totally.
And I would talk to you, and you would respond, and I'd talk to you.
And it wouldn't be like this, oh, she's the woman, so the two guys will just talk like this and ignore her existence. And they don't realize they're doing it.
Can I tell your stop story? Like, we were backstage, and we were talking about what it is to be a woman in this business sometimes. And Sophia was saying that she was in a situation, and they were talking about the work, and a man, she came over to bring her ideas, and a man went like this, stop. And that was accepted. Like, that's not okay.
Yeah.
And the fact that I have to feel happy that we're all women, that I know that's not gonna happen, is not okay.
And I think that that's part of what's interesting about the point is you have to listen to people's experiences rather than say, oh, we're past it, that doesn't happen anymore. We're not. We're not past gender inequality. We're not past racial inequality. We're not past all of the prejudices that affect people. And so if you can say, here are smart, talented, multifaceted, educated people who happen to be women, let's hire them to help flush out their resumes. Let's really make sure we are the ones taking the leaps for each other, because it doesn't mean that there's some finite bucket of success. But the issue is that it's really just been everyone who has access, the one group who has access to the bucket. And everybody needs to have access to the bucket.
And it's, it's one of the things we tried to do with equity was, I'm not going to change the system. I can just change me. So I can just do what I can do, and I'm going to make this littler movie, not the $100 million movie. I'm going to make a little movie, and I'm going to hire all women. And I think if you can't hire, let's say you're not in a position to hire, if you can't invest, you can mentor. Whether you're a man or a woman, you can mentor a woman and help get her to that next place.
I think that's such a nice point. I'd love to talk about, somebody told me once, the greatest abuse of power is not realizing that you have it internally.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, so good.
How do we tap into it? What are your suggestions, right? In, the one finger pointing out and the other four pointing back. How do we do that? How do we get past ourselves a little bit to try to forge our own path?
I think a lot of it is activism in the form of mentorship. I think mentorship is a huge piece of it. And really looking at, like, what can you do with young women, and how can you help them? There are so many amazing organizations that you can volunteer your time to, but you can also, like, go to your local college, go to your local high school. I work with an organization called Build that goes into inner cities, and kids get to come up with ideas as entrepreneurs, and we give them feedback, and then there are soft skills we're teaching about interviewing and about dressing as we're doing it, and it's been incredible. There are so many different ways that you can mentor and give back and really help that next generation.
And I think on that sort of close touch point in your industry, if you're going to mentor somebody, fantastic. And I also think we have to look at microcosms and at the macro. And for me, the reason that I dedicate my free time, and a lot of my time that isn't free, to global education access for girls is because I know what happens when a woman is educated and she has an opportunity. I know what the financial sense and fiscal responsibility of elevating the GDP by eradicating gender disparity looks like, and I also know that it's a moral imperative to make sure that women around the world have access to education and clean water and maternal care, and that their children become healthier, their communities become healthier. It's, again, it's data, and when the numbers and what you know to be morally sound meet up, you've got to dedicate to that. And so it's interesting because whether it's about me mentoring a girl who comes to work on my show or making sure that I'm fighting for the rights of girls in Guatemala to get into secondary school, I know that those things are, it's like a tessellation. There's sort of these expanding mirrors of each other, and dedicating yourself to that stuff is what fuels you. I always say to people, like, what pisses you off? What gets you up in the morning? And when a man stuck his hand in my face and told me to stop speaking to my director, I took a deep breath, I backed away from him because I wanted to punch him in the mouth. And as soon as I was at a distance where I could not do so, I turned around and I said, I understand you're feeling a little hot because you don't like the way the scene is written. If you ever put your finger in my face like that again, I will break it. And he was like, oh. And I was like, that's where we live today. That's right. Okay? And I think it's really important for us, whether it's in a slightly humorous tete-a-tete or in a very serious moment of standing up for yourself, you have to say something. You have to do something. You have the right to take up space. As a woman, you have the right to take up as much space as anyone else in the room. And if anyone wants to tell you that, you're being a sensitive snowflake or whatever, you know that you're not. So look to the people who want to support you and speak out for you and mentor you, and also support and speak out for yourself.
And have that tribe. I think it's so important as women that we have tribes of women that we can go to, and that they just equals. We can mentor each other. The end of that story of never finding a mentor is I have found my tribe of women, and we help each other. And it is so important that we do that, that we say, like, oh, that behavior is not okay. And when you were speaking about youth, one of the things that really occurred to me is there are so many women about child choices. So be it choosing to be a parent, be it choosing to come back to the workforce after being a parent. It's really important that we support adult women too, because that's a place where people sort of off-road sometimes, and allowing them the power and the space and the empowerment to come back.
I love that. And I love the idea of finding that tribe. And I think that mentorship, incredibly important, but when it comes to competitors, and probably all of the women sitting out there, you're not competitive with each other, right? Yeah. You're collaborators versus, if we can think that way, right? Collaborator versus competitor. Maybe we change a little bit of the tide that way. Final thoughts. I mean, we've got a packed room. I can't even see to the edge of it here. What are some things that the audience and all of us can do to make a better impact on this world, right? In this case, we heard mentorship, we heard, invest, hire, all of that stuff, believe in the power within. Is there kind of one lasting thing that you can share with us that, we can tweet out maybe and help change the world?
What would you say?
Well, I think that something that's incredibly important and easy is getting active in your community. And there's so many databases now, and we are at a tech conference. I mean, look at platforms like CrowdRise that literally offer you millions of charities at your fingertips and can say, here's how you get in contact with them. What arenas are you passionate about? Here's a way that you can start a fundraiser. I'm a huge fan of people donating their birthdays. No one needs more stuff. So if you sign up for something and then send a link to all of your family and friends and put it on your social media and say, hey, if you were going to get me a card, which nice cards now are $5, when did that happen? Don't spend $5 on a birthday card for me. Send me an email and donate it to a cause that I'm passionate about. Let's change energy for other people. That's so simple. Sign up, tweet it, donate something, get moving, and then figure out if you can donate finances or time.
I love that.
Yeah, we actually did Echo Age. They have them for kids too. So we did Echo Age for our daughter this year for her birthday, and she got to choose a charity that she loved, and then half of her, and she got to choose how much was donated and how much everybody put in for one gift. And it was so cool because she got her bike, and the charity of her choice got $500, which for a little kid was very impactful. And that's the one thing I would say is today, before we finish this panel in less than 2 minutes, pick one action, one charity, one thing that you this year deeply want to devote yourself to. And then pick one person. Okay, I'm gonna pick one person and I'm gonna mentor them this year. Those 2 actions, pick one organization and one mentorship, and that's it. And then for the year, you're golden, good karma.
I love it. Are you taking it, mentors?
I am. I made this decision, and this is a Shonda Land decision. Is the year of yes with mentorship. I have not said no to a single person, which is insane of me. But I also, every time I tell them, this is what I can offer. It might be 1 minute, a week, but I'll give you that 1 minute.
That's great. That's great. Alysia, Sophia, thank you so much for being here, for talking to us, for being the positive change in the world that we live in. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you.